Oh, and also I raped someone once.
But yeah, you know, you got the insecurity.
I killed her after.
What is the common link between the cancellation of Russel Brand, the Orwellian new UK online safety bill, and the Royal Army's secret Psy-Ops division? The answer is Lady Dame Caroline Dinenage, Baroness Lancaster of Kimbolton and Commander of the Order of the British Empire, more commonly known as Caroline Dinenage.
Caroline Dinenage is a worthless
I didn't say that, she said that. But, you know, if you do agree with her, then remember to leave a like on the video and then grab your tinfoil hats, comrades, because we're going full Mulder and Scully on this one, and we're gonna blow the whole conspiracy wide open. Russel Brand is in trouble again, but controversy has always followed Russel Brand around, way before even the Sachsgate incident back in 2001 he was fired from MTV for, on the day after 9/11, showing up to work dressed as Islamic fundamentalist terrorist Osama Bin Laden. And then fast forward to today, and now Russel Brand himself is being recast by the mainstream media as some kind of far-right radical online extremist and sexual terrorist. And like the real Bin Laden, he was supported by and funded by the mainstream establishment elites. He was crowned Shagger of the Year 4 times and lauded as the world's 4th most influential thinker, fawned over by politicians, and in 2015 Labour leader Ed Miliband even went round to his house to appear on his YouTube show in an attempt to win his political endorsement for the impending general election, which he lost. Just as the Americans funded Bin Laden's Mujahideen to fight their enemies, the Soviet Union, the liberal establishments both here in the United Kingdom and over there in Hollywood, they were more than happy to pay for Russel Brand to go after the likes of the Nazi supporting Daily Mail and the Australian shape-shifting lizard man Rupert Murdoch and The Sun and Fox News and anyone else who disagreed with the mainstream liberal media narratives. And they all clapped along like seals. But the moment that you become a credible threat to the corporate global hegemony, to the capitalist class and the military-industrial complex, you get assassinated without a trial.
So the allegations made against Russel Brand are shocking. Brand has been accused of rape, sexual assault and emotional abuse by 4 women when he was at the height of his fame.
The wave of allegations against members of the British celebrity media class regarding historic sexual crimes continues to roll on, claiming its 5th quote-unquote celebrity in as many months. Philip Schofield, Andrew Tate, Hugh Edwards, Dan Wootton, and now Russel Brand. State taxpayer-funded broadcaster Channel 4, after a joint investigation with the Murdoch-owned Sunday Times, released a wave of allegations against Russel Brand, accusing him of emotional abuse, sexual assault, and even rape, claims which he took to his YouTube channel to strenuously deny.
Some very serious allegations that I absolutely refute.
Brand has been accused of rape, sexual assault and emotional abuse by 4 women when he was at the height of his fame.
At the height of his fame, these people really have no idea. They're so locked in their bubbles that they actually believe that being on broadcast TV or hosting a radio show or starring in a handful of Hollywood movies equals success and fame. They actually believe their own hype, that they're important and that their position in society gives them value. The world has moved on past you. Those things don't constitute fame anymore, and they haven't for a long time. I bet you every single person that we look at in this video has a TV license and sits there for hours every day consuming their spoon-fed government propaganda, reality TV and catchy advertising jingles. Perhaps I'm naive, but I actually believe Russel Brand, if he was guilty, would admit it. The man's lived his life like an open wound. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the flimsy he said, she said evidence presented by these four unnamed women is stronger than it seems. Maybe the clearly doctored text messages put forward are legit. Maybe it's all real. I don't know. But what I do know is that this case doesn't smell right. There's something fishy going on here. This one feels different, and I wasn't going to comment on this story at all, but then, thanks to Rumble, one final jigsaw piece in this mystery fell into place.
And here with more details is Culture Minister and a Conservative MP, Caroline Dinenage, who joins me now.
Good morning, it's Dinenage, actually.
Dinenage, my apologies.
You make me sound so much more glamorous than I am. Thank you.
More glamorous? You're a fucking Baroness, for fuck's sake. That's former Culture Minister, now the chair of Culture, Media and Sport Committee, who replaced Julian Knight, who himself stepped down from the role following a series of sexual assault allegations. So here she is, the former Equalities Minister who voted against gay marriage, addressing said committee.
Of course, this weekend we've seen some very serious and disturbing accusations about Russel Brand's behaviour, and we understand, of course, that the police are now looking into some of these allegations. As a first step, our committee have decided that we will today write to media outlets, including the BBC and Channel 4, to understand the actions that they're taking as we consider some of the issues around these allegations.
On the face of it, this all sounds quite reasonable. We're going to reach out to former employers and ask them about their internal investigations, if they'll be reviewing their policies and procedures, and what actions they'll be taking to protect current employees to ensure incidents like this don't happen in the future. And obviously, I, Commie Mark, the communist, I actually support protections for workers in the workplace. You shouldn't have to go to work and be subjected to abuse, physically, emotionally, sexually, any of that. And when these corporations fail to keep their employees safe, then of course the state should step in. But that is not what's really happening here. Both the BBC and Channel 4 removed their content from their on-demand services featuring Russel Brand, which again, on the face of it, seems reasonable. You can understand why these mainstream broadcasters would want to keep distance between themselves and these allegations. It makes sense that this content would be memory hold, that they would want you to forget that they are the ones who enabled and covered up this kind of behaviour in the first place. Alleged behaviour, I should say.
But they are serious and disturbing, and actually, more than anything, the nature of these allegations means that they are a matter for the police, not for Parliament.
A matter for police, not for Parliament, says the adulterous parliamentarian on national TV to a man who looks like if Adrian Chiles was made out of a Lego. But again, she is saying the right thing here. This should be a matter for the police. If a crime has been committed, then it should be for the police to investigate. It should be dealt with by the legal system, and he should have the opportunity to defend himself, and if found guilty, the consequences should be decided upon by said legal system. It shouldn't be for the chair of Media, Culture and Sport to go on TV spreading unproven accusations in some kind of trial by television.
If you ever get trial by television or guilt by accusation, that day, freedom dies. A court of law is the place where you deal with these matters.
Making me agree with Margaret Thatcher. How could you? Caroline Dinenage and the rest of the media class should know better than this. Russel Brand hasn't been arrested or charged, and in fact there is no criminal investigation currently underway regarding these accusations, and should there ever be, her actions and those of the legacy media may prejudice a jury and see any potential criminal proceedings dismissed. It's all kind of murky, but then, in a brief moment of clarity, Dame Lady Caroline Dinenage, for a moment, lets the mask slip.
I think what we're talking about here are some really serious allegations regarding 4 cases of alleged sexual assault and 1 of rape. So those are very much matters for the police, and they're not things for our committee to get involved in. Stage. But actually, the one thing that does concern me, and I will be discussing with the committee tomorrow, is the fact that although this particular broadcaster is no longer on those channels, he is performing almost daily on his YouTube channel and on TikTok, which between them have over 6 million followers. So I'll be interested to know what the terms and conditions are.
The truth is that they are less concerned about the unfolding post Johnny Depp sequel to Me Too, Me 3. They're far more concerned about the fact that Russel Brand is still able to broadcast his thoughts and ideas nearly daily outside the confines of traditional media institutions where the government is able to exert some level of covert control, which leads us to this now infamous Rumble email.
We would be grateful if you could confirm whether Mr. Brand is able to monetize his content, including his videos relating to the serious accusations against him. If so, we would like to know whether Rumble intends to join YouTube in suspending Mr. Brand's ability to earn money on the platform.
For me, this email is a massive overreach by the Media, Culture and Sport Committee to request that social media platforms demonetize a man for being accused of committing a crime. Rumble naturally refused to comply with the parliamentary request and basically told the UK Parliament to do one, which most of the internet agreed was pretty based. I was so impressed by this that I actually signed up for Rumble too. There's a link in the description so you can go and subscribe over there. Keen to get in on the action, rival social media company Gab issued this statement.
In a recent phone call with the UK government, we told them that the only way they'd be censoring Gab users is if they managed to successfully invade the United States and physically seize our servers.
The same basic sentiment, but somehow totally cringe and try hard. But Commie Mark, I hear you cry it. Asking will you be joining YouTube in demonetizing Mr. Brand isn't an instruction or a demand, it's merely an innocent question, and you could be forgiven for thinking that if you're missing one very important piece of context, that Lady Dame Baroness Caroline Dinenage is the brains behind and the public face of the UK Online Safety Bill.
The Online Safety Bill will require big tech companies to protect all users from illegal content and protect children from harmful content, or they'll face fines of up to £18 million. It will mean social media bosses who fail to protect under 18s online could face prison.
That's right, the person asking this innocent question also has the power to fine you £18 million or throw you in jail under the pretext of failing to protect children.
The threat of jail for tech bosses has helped move the bill forward. Politicians are in agreement that each day of inaction allows more damaging content to be spread online.
Which reminds me, make sure that you subscribe and share this content around online to all your friends before I too get demonetized by an overpowered parliamentary committee abusing their power to silence their critics and undermine freedom of speech with threats of huge fines and jail time. How does this woman sleep at night? Well, next to the man she cheated on her first husband with, the man who left his partner literally holding the baby, Major General Lord Mark Lancaster, Baron Lancaster of Kimbolton, the former Deputy Commander of the UK military Psy-Ops division, the 77th Brigade.
The 77th Brigade will have an emblem very like that of the Chindit. The brigade will be 2,000 strong, and they'll be trained in information warfare and psychological operations. The statement talks about a brigade supporting the delivery of information operations, including psychological operations and deployed media operations, looking at traditional and unconventional ways of shaping behaviours through the use of dynamic narratives.
Psychological operations, deployed media operations, shaping behaviours through the use of dynamic narratives. That's all press release gobbledygook to dance around using the word propaganda. And this isn't new information. We've talked at length before about the Foreign Office's neo-colonialism, secretly funding Syrian artists, animators and directors to produce anti-Assad comics and movies, and paying them way over the UK minimum wage to produce such materials. The war in Syria really exposed how far behind the UK was in this information warfare dimension. While the Islamic State were producing high quality recruitment videos glamorizing the life of a jihadi fighter in the new caliphate, the UK government managed to just pull off a weak Guardian puff piece to show off some of this anti-Assad Syrian art. And don't get me wrong, I much prefer solutions to conflicts where as few people as possible have to die. These kind of propaganda, soft power type plays, sure, they make me feel dirty, but you know, it's better than carpet bombing a wedding or a hospital. Go ahead. Put one of these 77th Brigade guys into Twitter as their Middle East and Africa head of editorial and let him spew anti-Assange rhetoric all over the place. Or install a 77th Brigade member as the director of operations for the Better Together campaign to influence the outcome of the Scottish independence referendum. But in 2020, during the height of the pandemic, a serious red line was crossed, and here is Britain's Chief of the Defence Staff, Sir General Nick Carter, to explain more.
The First Secretary has asked me today to give you an update on what the Armed Forces and Defence as a whole is doing in support of the government's response to the virus. We've been involved with the Cabinet Office Rapid Response Unit, with our 77th Brigade helping to quash rumours from misinformation, but also to counter disinformation.
So, during the pandemic, the 77th Brigade was tasked with monitoring the social media posts of British citizens who were critical of lockdowns, restrictions, and vaccines. Anyone who questioned the official narrative set out by the Conservative government who didn't even follow their own fucking rules anyway.
It is something that we created not for this purpose. It's something that was created for battlefields, when of course increasingly the information dimension of what we do on battlefields is becoming really important. And essentially we would use it in an environment like, say, Afghanistan, to be able to connect to the population, or indeed to the outside world, to get the message across that perhaps one might in the past have described as propaganda, but is actually much more about getting to the truth of things.
Don't make me laugh. The army getting to the truth of things. Remind me, what were the pretenses for the invasion of Iraq? Was it weapons of mass destruction, or was it all that delicious black gold, oil, the lifeblood of the capitalist machine? And speaking of illegal invasions, when former KGB agent Vladimir Putin launched his special operation into Ukraine, the 77th Division was reassigned from tackling COVID misinformation and disinformation to now spying on UK citizens who were questioning the official Putin is a totally unprovoked mad tyrant attacking a nation where the CIA definitely didn't install a puppet president in a covert state-sponsored coup d'etat.
It would be inappropriate for the military to be involved in propaganda at home, if you could put it like that. A capers that was designed for the battlefield, has advantages at this level, but that's not the way we're going to use it. It's about identifying challenges for others to solve.
identifying challenges for others to solve. And now we've come full circle and we're back at Lady Dame, Caroline Dinenage, and the online safety bill and Russel Brand. Now, the crimes that Russel Brand is accused of, there are two options. A, they're either completely fabricated works of fiction dreamt up by mainstream media elites to stop Russel Brand from giving his controversial opinions on both the coronavirus and the Russia-Ukraine war, the two things the 77th Division have been tracking, or B, he really did do those gross things and the powers that be covered them up because he was a useful asset in their war against right-wing media. Either way, the media comes out as the bad guy here. Regardless of whether the accusations are true or not, it is undeniable that the government is overreaching here to capitalise on this scandal to demonetise and destroy the livelihood of an outspoken critic. Sure, you could argue that the fact that the chair of Digital Media and Culture Committee, the woman behind the online safety bill being weaponised to silence Russel Brand, the fact that she's married to a man who worked for the 77th Brigade tasked with spying on British citizens, saying the very things that Russel Brand was saying, you could argue there's no suspicious link there, and that's merely a coincidence. But I'll remind you of the famous quote that in mathematics, two angles that are said to coincide fit together perfectly. The word coincidence does not describe luck or mistakes. It describes that which fits together perfectly, like this does. That's the end. I hope you learned something. Now, fuck off.